Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the horror thriller Push. And this film is from directors David Charbonnier and Justin Douglas Powell, and this duo takes the reins of this story. They previously did films like The Djinn and The Boy Behind the Door, which I was a pretty big fan of The Djinn and really appreciated that film, and here they tell the story of a pregnant realtor who must survive a night of terror when a deranged client shows up at her open house. And this is very much a cat and mouse game between Alicia Sands' Natalie and Raul Castillo's The Client. And this film really starts off with some impactful imagery and some haunting moments of showing the trauma and backstory to our protagonist Natalie and what the significance of her being a mother and having this child and being alone after the father of her child and her love dies in a car accident, which there's some really unnerving imagery that we get to see through her nightmares towards the beginning of the film. And then a lot of this film is like following her through this house, always keeping attentive to what's going on in the background, and then it turns into this horrific cat and mouse game throughout this house and the grounds of this place with, like a mechanic coming in and some cops and some of those kinds of elements. And this film, I think, is really elevated by Daniel Katz's cinematography, the way the camera moves, how dynamic it is, how engaging these long takes, its deep focus, and how that builds the tension throughout the film. I think Charbonnier and Powell, along with their cinematographer, really make a dynamic cinematic experience that is consistently building tension and suspense throughout and makes this a really effective horror film. But also, Sands delivers a very empathetic, very charismatic performance. We feel for her, we connect with her, and I think how Charbonnier and Powell really structure that beginning to make us feel and understand her and her experiences, get us invested in this woman and want nothing more to see her get through this night with her child and with safety. And Castillo, who I've seen in quite a few things, but nothing quite like this, where he is scary, he is deplorable, he is just malevolent in the eeriness, his presence, his vocalizations, his body language, all of it. And he's this looming force that follows her and stalks her throughout. There's some interesting twists and turns about the significance of this man and how he fits into her life and this situation. I do feel like this goes a little too far with like a fourth act kind of structure where it's just like, this wasn't good enough. It's a horror movie. You gotta have like that whole last extra oomph of more scares and stalking and bloody and violence. And sure, was it well done? Yes. But it didn't 100% feel necessary. But I do think this film gets across a decent amount of what it's trying to say about like this woman who's walking around all in white, being stalked, this soon-to-be new mother, and the underlying thematic elements of what this visual sees of the cruel world trying to destroy and cause pain to this new, soon-to-be new mother, and this looming horrible world that's going to be chasing after her child from the second of birth. And I think this film subtly does those themes justice, and I think this is an interesting film, even at an hour 29 minutes, I think it overstays its welcome a bit narratively, and they could have made it just a little tighter. This could have easily been an 80-minute film, but it's still very effective. It's still really well made, and Sands and Castillo give two fantastic performances that anchor it all down. But those are my thoughts on Push. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.